All right, you ready, Steve?
I'm ready, Spence. Punch it, Chewie!
Welcome to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura.
Ricola.
We're two best friends that, despite being fathers and husbands, we just refuse to grow all the way up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 3.
Number 3.
So, Steve, we've made it to the third episode. How do you feel?
I feel like we should have some kind of celebration. Maybe we should invite all the people that have been on before, kind of have a reunion tour. I think we could really get some legs on this.
Yep, and we're both here, so the reunion tour is in full swing.
The party has started, and you are invited.
Nice. So, Steve, it's been a week. What have you been up to?
Week, they all seem to blur together. So the week is good. The coming of Christmas seems to accelerate. It's like, I think, summer vacations, how they just get quicker and quicker when you were a kid, and when you were younger they seemed like eternity. So Christmas is a coming, and we are preparing. Tonight we actually went to a concert. My oldest son Carter plays the upright bass, and so we went to a concert, orchestra concert, and there were like different grades, different levels, whatnot playing. And what's funny about that is, and I'm happy that he's an orchestra and he's into music. He's really good. He's got a great ear for music. He plays the piano. He plays the spoons and the jug after his father. No, but he plays the upright bass, and it's cool because there are not many kids that play that, right? So they always say it's a good, quote unquote, like scholarship instrument. Play things that nobody else plays. So you can always hear him, right? If you play like the violin or the viola, there's a sea of those kids. But there are 2 kids that play the bass, so I can always hear him. So it's always kind of a cool thing to be like, hey, I heard you, and not be like lying as a parent, be like, oh, you sounded so good, sweetheart. But I can actually hear him. So it was good. He did it.
You said this was Carter, right?
Yeah, this is Carter.
Okay.
This is Carter. But what's funny about it is like the bass. I'm like, I feel like he's like one step away from like playing in like lounge clubs, like nightclubs, like across Chicago, like by age 12. He's going to be going up to the bar, being like asking for 3 fingers of milk, wearing a zoot suit, and calling me Daddy-O or something.
Nice. He's like now featuring the Carter Madura Trio live,
right?
In the Showboat Lounge. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually used to play the cello when I was a kid, and I actually gave it up because I had to ride the bus, and so I would get on the bus, and it was so big that people would like be pushing me, and it's always hard to like find a seat for me and my cello. And this bass is like 2 times his height. It's huge. And so anyway.
So yeah, I know Carter. I've known him his whole life. And so here's my question: is how does he play the things? Does he like stand like on a milk crate? I mean, because
he has circus stilts that he uses to
painter stilts. He's like, in my spare time, I can do your room with a fresh coat of paint.
Right. So yeah, no, it works out somehow. He does well on it. And what's funny though is when I quit. So I'm a quitter, self-acknowledged quitter of the cello, right?
Sure.
And I remember what happened. It was Mr. Provost, and it was like in 5th grade. Probably about the same age as Carter, and we went to this concert, and I sat like the front chair, like facing the audience, and he pulls me aside afterwards. He said, "Steve, I noticed that your bow wasn't hitting the strings at all during the concert," and so I had just been like moving my arm like in concert with everybody else, but not actually touching the strings. I'm like, "No, that's not what happened." He's like, "No, I'm pretty sure it was." I'm like, "I quit."
So I played the cello when I was in 4th grade because I wanted to play in band, but you couldn't do that in 4th grade. You could only do orchestra. I also played the cello, and I also had an experience where I played in a concert, and I didn't put the bow to the strings at all because I felt I didn't practice as much as I should, because every time I'd practice, I'm like, okay, this is boring, and then I'd go and do the lesson, and they're like, hey, you're sounding great, and I'm like, I can fake this, right? So yeah, I quit after the first year of doing that as well, and Yeah, same thing. But I didn't get called out by the orchestra director.
Yeah, right. Like by year one, like the only thing I could play was like the themed song to Jaws. It was like dun 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 dun. That's all I could play, literally. So
Nice.
a sad day in history, but I hope Carter can go further than I. So, but anyway, it was a good week. Just getting ready for Christmas and just finalizing shopping and all the rest. How about you? How was your week?
I don't know if maybe it's because of the Christmas time, something's been in the air this week, but I found that like the stress level in the Stapleton household was like at an all-time high. It's I don't know when to say exactly it started, but I'll say it started at this point. My wife calls me sometime middle of the week and she says, "Hey, did we get the insurance on the brand new cell phones?" Okay, already I'm thinking, oh man, she dropped it in a toilet and like now
Right.
it won't turn on. And she said, and I tell her, I said, nah, I mean, not exactly, but I mean, we still can add it. And she says, yeah, we better add it. And I was like, okay, what happened? And she
It's
said,
always a great preface to the conversation.
right. She says, well, I had my phone in my pocket and it came out of my pocket somehow and it fell directly onto the screen and cracked it. Now, she and I both have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge phone, which is
Mm-hmm.
a great phone, but man, when you crack that thing, you can't see a dang thing. And so it's going to cost us like almost $250 to get it fixed. And
What?
when the phone costs like 650 bucks to begin with, that was a gut
Ouch.
punch, and I was just like, no, great. And of course, I don't know why, but I was like an investigator. Like I came home, and I was like, now what pair of pants were you wearing? Those pair of pants. Let me take a look at those pair of pants. And I wanted to look at the pockets and see. And
What?
I put my phone in the pants pocket, and I was like, yep, this phone only goes halfway into the pocket. The pocket only can hold half the phone. And she just kind of rolled her eyes at me, and I was like, that's all I'm saying. And I turned and like walked out. I was just, I don't know what it was, but I was like,
You sit her down, you get one of those like lights, you shine in her face. Where were you in the night of? You're like, this is some kind of
yeah,
interrogation?
I don't know. So the stress level is already high because we're gonna have to pay a lot of money for a phone, and we only got these phones back in August. So so anyway, that started off the stress level a little bit. My mother's coming into town for the Christmas holidays, and
Sure.
we're gonna have family that's gonna be staying with us. And my wife wanted to bring in a house cleaner this last weekend. Someone to come in and do some deep cleaning for like 3 hours. It was going to cost like $75.
Yep.
And I let it happen and was like, sure, fine, let's go ahead and do this thing. And so this lady came in and she was great. She cleaned, she was scrubbing the floor in the kitchen. And I don't know when the last time that happened, probably before we owned the house. Um, she cleaned like the bathrooms and did all this deep cleaning. So anyway, I took the boys out for a car ride for like almost the full 3 hours, and I bought them a bag of gummy bears each. And like we were half hour into this car ride, and Jackson, my youngest, who's like 2.5, had finished the entire bag of gummy bears, like gone already. And I just realized I just gave this kid a bag full of sugar, and he's done with it. And
Right.
I've got like another 2.5 hours left to go. Needless to say, it was just a stressful. I was just stressful. I was just trying to keep them happy and keep them out of the house. And so like they didn't take Charlie doesn't take a nap anymore, but Jackson still takes a nap. And Jackson didn't take a nap, and so like later that night we were trying to like get them excited to go out and see Christmas lights. And so it took us like an hour to find Charlie's shoes, and just like tensions were super high, and like we couldn't figure out where he took his shoes off. And turned out when we went down into the basement for 2 minutes when my brother was over picking up a baby swing, Charlie came down and he was jumping on the bed, and he knows well enough to take his shoes off if he's going to jump on the bed. And it's downstairs in the basement room. It's a guest bedroom that we don't ever use, and the shoes were like tucked on the far side of the bed, a little bit underneath the bed, and it took us an hour. So we're stressed out. We finally find the shoes. We get out and we go get McDonald's. And by the time we get over to the little drive-through area with all these lights, both of the kids are asleep. And
And there you go.
I don't know why, but I was frustrated, man. I was like, I took all this time and effort trying to get this to work and get the kids so they could see the lights because that's what they wanted to do. And then it didn't happen. And then the next morning was Sunday, and we got up to go to church. And of course, we forgot to take the McDonald's out the night before when we were trying to get the
Mm.
asleep kids in. So we go into church late and we smell like stale French fries.
Oh, you got the McGurgles going on.
Yeah, and as we're standing around, like we're waiting to go into the chapel because we're a little bit late and we could hear they're saying a prayer and we didn't want to walk in mid prayer. Uh,
Smelling like fries.
smelling like stale, nasty French fries. Jackson just comes running up to me and he like double fist Superman punches me in the junk and just drops me to the ground. I mean, I was on the floor just like clutching myself and people are walking by and I'm trying to like one hand kind of like wave them on like no, go ahead, I'm fine, don't, you know, just leave me
Dude,
alone.
it's
I'm good.
it's the residual of the gummy bears, man. What the
I
freak?
mean, it was just so I ended up like later that day. The boys were just wild, and I had to bust out the dad voice a few times, and it was just crazy. But the funny thing was, in all of this like stress and craziness, right? Um, Charlie, who's turning 4, actually tomorrow, it'll be his 4th birthday.
Oh, shout out Charlie. Nice. Happy birthday.
He had this little coin that he got from the bishop at church, and if you go to the bishop's office after church is over, you can exchange it for a piece of candy or something. It's just a way that the bishop can like interact with all the young kids once a month on their birthday month, a little something special. And
Yeah.
so Charlie gets this ring pop, and I look at this thing, I'm like, oh, he likes suckers, and this thing is going to be a big sucker, and it's going to be a mess. He opens it up, he takes it, he puts it on his hand, he immediately starts licking this thing, and he goes, Daddy, out of a scale of 1 to 10, I give this strawberry ring pop a 10. And I looked at him and I was like, what? And he
Oh,
goes, I give it a 10. It's really good. And I was like, where did he get this whole like concept of like rating
this
things? And
rating system.
but if you're listening to this podcast and you want to know, my son Charlie, who's turning 4 tomorrow, says on a scale of 1 to 10, strawberry ring pops are a 10. So go out and get yourself a strawberry ring pop.
So funny story, really quick. So talking about the cell phone thing, just going back to that really quick.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a really funny story. So over the summer, so my wife. Okay, so I love all things tech, right? My wife is the polar opposite. She had a clam phone up until this summer.
You
It
mean
was a
you
Nokia, who
mean
knows how
like
old,
a clamshell
like a
flip
clamshell.
phone?
Clamshell flip phone, like
Okay.
beam me up Scotty, like Nokia old school. So I lose my phone or misplace it one day, and I'm taking the kids to Great America, Six Flags Great America, up in Northern Illinois. So we go, we have a great time. I've got just shorts on, whatever, and we are on the Superman ride, right? And we are like at the peak of the Superman ride, the thing goes inverted, goes upside down. We're probably going like 90 miles an hour, 60 feet up in the air, and this phone falls out of my pocket, right? So it is like propelled, careening to the ground in some cordoned off area where you can't go because you'll get kicked out of the park and probably will get flogged in the public square, whatever. You can't go. So I just thought, it's a lost leader. I'm done. Not going to even look for it. So we meet up with my wife after we're done at the park. I was there with the kids alone. And I said, oh, and by the way, and the kids totally blow it for me. They're like, hey, Daddy lost your phone. That's like the first thing they say. I'm like, thanks a lot, guys. And I'm like, yeah, it fell in my pocket, and it's gone. And she's like, well, did you even look for it? I'm like, well, no, I was going 60 miles an hour or 90 miles an hour, and I was 60 feet in the air. And she's like, well, you should at least call. And so she has a friend who has an old iPhone or older iPhone, so she gets that, boots it up, uses it, so that's her new phone, right? So fast forward like a few weeks, I call the park because my wife tells me to, and I do what my wife tells me to. And they call me back a week later and like, yeah, we found the phone. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll come pick it up just so we can get the SIM card out of it or whatever. So we're at the park a week later. We have seasons passes, and she's like, I'm going to just go and get it from Lost and Found. She meets back up with us. She opens the phone up. It's been like a month now. It was out in the rain, and again, the whole fall thing that we talked about earlier. She opens the thing up, and the screen comes on, and there's a little line on the screen. That's it.
Wow.
Right? That's it. And then fast forward another week, she's sitting at the kitchen table doing something. Her iPhone slips from her pocket and falls 3 feet to the ground with non-terminal velocity. The whole screen shatters. I'm like, what the freak? Steve Jobs, if you were alive, I swear.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
They do not make them like they used to.
So that's so funny because like you tell me that, and I'm listening to this. I'm thinking back to when we worked in the Motorola factory when we were 18 years old, and we were
Yeah,
building.
preface. We used to work in a sweatshop, Spencer and I. We worked in the sweatshop. Yeah.
That's true. So we built the Motorola StarTAC cell phones that had that little screen was maybe like an inch by an inch, and
Right.
and we used to build these things. And I remember they had this test where you dropped a StarTAC phone in this like kind of long rectangular vertical box, and it's supposed to be like simulate like a 4 foot drop, and it hits and it kind of bounces. But I remember
Well, it was a padded box. It was the drop test. It was a padded 4 foot box.
right. So I remember on my first day, this guy named Claude who worked there was this German fellow. He's like,
Of course.
he's like, listen, you do not take the phone and drop it in the box. He's like, that wastes time. He's like, you take it in your hand and you just smack it on table. And he took this phone and he smacked it on the table like what I would consider to be a really rough way to handle a piece of electronic equipment. And he opened.
Coming from a guy who used a rebar to self-correct a satellite dish. But yes, go on. Yes,
I was
go
18 at the time. I've learned the error of my ways. Now I have no problem with
Right.
bashing technology with, steel. Anyway, he smacks this thing on the table, and then he flips it up, and the screen's perfect. It fires up. And so my job on the first day of the Motorola factory, which I don't know that I advanced much further than this, was I would take these StarTAC phones and all day long for a 12-hour shift, I would randomly pick a few up every, 10, 15 seconds and slam them down against the table and then flip them open. And if they still worked, I put them down the line, and that was quality control to make sure that they would fall 4 feet. And I promise you, there is not someone over in China at Foxconn factory making iPhones that's doing that, because that poor Chinese man would have been killed years ago.
Right. Oh, you remember that though, man? Like that was literally like Skynet. I mean, they had built this huge factory which has been vacant for years now. But back when we were in high school or fresh out of high school, it was brand new. And Spencer worked in the China, wing or whatever it was that delivered phones to China. I worked in the Made in America, man, wing, and we'd meet up for lunch during our breaks. But it was such a big factory, you literally had to run from your workstation to the cafeteria, which was beautiful. I mean, it had every type of eatery type thing you could imagine. But you had to run to make it in time to eat, scarf in your food, and run back. It was so big. I was like, you couldn't have put in moving walkways? Hello?
Yeah. The funny thing is, we both worked that job, and they put us in like different factories, and we knew a guy who was like a vice president there. I don't know why we didn't pull strings and just get into the same factory, but it was an hour drive to get there and an hour drive to get home. And during the winter time, like, it was treacherous. But I always remember, like, it would be like 6 in the morning, and we'd come rolling in from work, and my mom would just be waking up. I'm like, so Mom, what's for breakfast? We're starving. I'm never gonna forget that. I'm never gonna forget that. Such good days.
And that's why we went to college.
Right, because I didn't want to be bashing tech equipment with rebar for my. Wait a minute, dang it, never mind.
Right.
Well, good, Steve.
Gosh.
It sounds like you had a good week. Like I said,
I did.
My week was a little stressful, but I'm really excited. Tomorrow, Charlie turns 4 years old, and we're just going to do a small kind of family thing. He loves breakfast foods, so surprisingly, we're actually going to take him to IHOP tomorrow evening for dinner. And then
don't kids eat free there or something like that? I mean, are you?
Yes. I mean,
yeah.
He likes.
Yeah, sure. He likes breakfast food. Yeah.
He likes pancakes and waffles. What can I say? His old man's smarter than it looks. So
That's right.
So we're gonna do that, and then on the next Monday, when we're actually gonna record our movie club about Rogue One, we're gonna be throwing the birthday party, and my mom and her husband are gonna be in town, and my brother and sister-in-law and all their kids are gonna be available, and so we're gonna do a big party, and he wants a PJ Masks cake. And so if you're familiar with Disney Junior, I'm sure you know PJ Masks, and he wants this thing, and so that's what we're doing. So that'll be the big deal, but tomorrow will just be family. It'll be nice. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I am glad you had a good week. It's good to be back. Good to be with you.
So Steve, let's get into some Rebel intelligence. And as always, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right. So, Steve, the first thing I want to talk about, and this is a little sad, and so I figured we should maybe start with this so we can build and get
Start with the
happier.
depressing news first.
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
that's good.
So, as most people are probably aware, because it's out everywhere in the news right now, the actor Alan Thicke died just the other day, and he died while playing hockey with his son. He was 69 years old. His son, I believe, was 21 that he was playing hockey with. Alan Thicke obviously was the father on Growing Pains, which was a huge show in the 80s and part of my childhood. He was the dad,
Yeah.
Jason Seaver. But what I didn't know, and I think you're going to find this interesting, is he was also a TV theme show writer. And the two things he's probably most famous for writing was the theme song to Different Strokes and The Facts of Life. And he wrote that with his ex-wife.
Really, dude, those are some fantastic theme songs, man. Like different strokes to the world, yes it does. It takes. Oh man, love it.
I don't know about you, but I loved like the 80s and even 90s like TV show theme songs. Like I loved TV shows that had like really catchy theme songs.
Dude, do you remember like when we were going to Rick's college? You had like a ton of yeah, like, theme songs on your laptop, and so we would like play this game. You had like 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you'd play them, and we would try to like guess what they were. I remember playing that game. Like we had some, I don't know,
Yeah, no,
some friends or whatever.
I think somewhere along the line a few years ago I found a CD of like the 25 or 30 like most popular NBC theme songs. And I haven't bought a CD in years, but I saw the thing, I grabbed it, and I was like, $10? Worth every penny! And I went home and I ran in and I put it in, and next thing you know, I'm listening to like the Golden Girls theme song, and I just like sat there in this like little bubble of awesomeness for like an hour, hour and a half, and I was like, Night Court, boom, boom, boom. And I was like dun 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 dun. I was just in heaven. It was great.
I was like, was that last one supposed to be an actual? Because I didn't place that one. I didn't place it.
I like to get a
Yeah, there's some.
little creative and interpretive sometimes when I'm reenacting TV show theme songs. Yeah, you know, I always get the impression from everyone I've ever heard speak of Alan Thicke over the years that he was actually like a really decent, nice human being. I mean, he was Canadian, so I'm sure he was nice. But but he was just a nice, decent human being who seemed like he didn't take himself too seriously. And I just anyway, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, and I hope that they're gonna
Yeah.
they'll be okay in their moments of grief and pain in the next little while.
A funny kind of Kevin Bacon 6 Degrees of Separation. I actually worked with a guy. His name was Ben Ziff. I worked with him at my current company. He's since left, but he was an actor before he came to our firm. He'd done some roles. He had done some stuff with the woman in Liar Liar, the mom. She's got the weird raspy voice. What's the
Jennifer Tilly?
Yeah, he'd done some stuff with Jennifer Tilly, and he was actually in a movie with Alan Thicke, some beach surfs up movie or whatever. And he said, yeah, he was a really cool guy. He'd hang out with some of the other like lesser name actors and actresses on the show, and just really nice guy. So he will be missed. He was a good on-site TV dad.
Right.
He set me straight a few times.
Me as well. Me as well.
Very cool. Well, I had one thing I wanted to talk about. The teaser for Spider-Man: Homecoming just dropped this last week, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. As we talked about in episode 1, there is definitely some origin-esque story to the movie, but I think Michael Keaton is going to be one of the several villains in the movie. I think he plays the Vulture, and I gotta say, anytime Michael Keaton is in a film, it's gonna be good. He's just got layers. He's got depth, and I think he's always fun to watch.
Yeah, I love Michael Keaton, so I'm really excited to see him play the Vulture. I tell you what I like about this, because I did a little reading on this, and I mean, I've known a lot of the details about how the Marvel and Sony kind of got together and worked out a deal so that the Marvel Marvel Studios can have kind of, creative influence on this movie, and they can do crossover with the characters. I know that they say Sony still has the final executive creative control, but they've also said they're deferring to Marvel Studios. So basically it means, hey, we know that we're not going to get this right if we leave this to ourselves. You guys
Right.
you guys are doing this right. We're going to say that we've got creative control, but we're going to do everything you tell us to do, and we're going to make millions of dollars. Now,
Right.
that's smart business. I'm just saying. But reading on this, I thought it's really cool that they, first of all, this is going to be a really racially diverse cast, it looks like. I think they cast the character of Flash as a young black guy, I believe, and they're not going with like the Mary Jane stuff. And they said that it's not going to be necessarily an origin story. That there's pretty much going to be like he's coming back after the events of Captain America: Civil War, and it's going to be like him trying to just like deal with being a teenager and being in high school, and they're not gonna be like, hey, here's the radioactive spider coming down the thing. Oh no, don't put your hand there, Peter. They're not doing that.
So it's nice that they're starting from the last movie where they introduced him. That's
Right, and
good.
they said that they're gonna really try to stay away from doing the origin story. Now, I fully expect that there'll be flashbacks. Maybe not in this movie, but maybe the next Spider-Man movie, or they'll flash back and they'll kind of delve a little deeper into it. But they're not gonna do 20, 30 minutes of how he gets his powers and tests it out. One thing though, Steve, I did notice, and I don't know if maybe you saw it. There's that shot where Spider-Man is leaping off that building or off that kind of pillar, and he jumps over the helicopter, and he kind of
Yep.
spreads his arms out, and you see the
That's right.
the webbing under
The web wings.
So
Looks
that,
like a flying squirrel.
yeah, so that is a throwback to Steve Ditko, who did the actual artwork on the original Spider-Man comics in the 1960s. He had that kind of webbing a lot of times underneath his arms and kind of to his torso. That's the only shot that they've shown, and I'm sure it's not going to be like a full thing. Maybe it's just going to be like a little bit here and there. They kind of show that. But I thought that was kind of cool to kind of give a little homage to Steve Ditko, who, drew Spider-Man and brought him visually to life, whereas, Stan Lee wrote the stories and gave Peter Parker a voice and gave
Yeah.
Spider-Man his personality.
That
So
is cool. That is cool.
I really like that. I love the fact that Aunt May is hot. I mean, well,
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't?
the
You
whole
didn't
the
you
whole
didn't
idea
think
that
Aunt
he's
May from Tobey Maguire was hot? I mean, come on, man.
no. But the whole idea that Aunt May in this isn't like super old. That she's supposed to be the sister of his mother, not like his mother who must have been like 1,000 years
Right.
old. That looks like the Crypt Keeper.
Right.
So so anyway, I like that. I like Marissa Tomei. She's great. She's been
You
great in
know,
everything.
yeah, one thing that I wanted to bring up as well is it seems like in the Spider-Man movies, above others, they always seem to have like a multi-villain thing going on. Spider-Man 2 had Doc Ock and the Green Goblin. Spider-Man 3 had three villains. It had Sandman, the New Goblin, Harry, and Venom.
Right.
Kind of alter egos of Peter Parker. And so, what do you think about that? Do you like that? Do you like keeping track of two, three villains at one time, multiple storylines?
Okay, so they did. I mean, in the when they kind of rebooted Spider-Man, the first one was just the Lizard, and then when they did the second one, it was Electro, and then they also kind of had, oh gosh, what's his name, Rhino. That was in that
Right.
one, and they kind of teased the Sinister Six, right? Like Spider-Man's like Big Six, and they talked about doing the Sinister Six movie, and then they kind of dropped that idea to do this version of Spider-Man. And I hear that not only is Vulture going to be in this, but that we're looking at potentially another one or two more villains.
Hmm.
They may not be super big. They may only have like little parts and kind of like helping set up future movies. I'm not a big fan of the multi-villain, only because it gets a little complicated. Gosh, let's go back. Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire, with the Sandman and the Hobgoblin and freaking
Venom.
Venom. Like, Venom alone could have been a great movie, but we got the
Yep.
Sandman, like, I'm just trying to do this for my daughter, and blah, blah. It was just ugly. It was just bad. I thought it was poorly written, and it was too confusing. And so I'm hoping they kind of stay away from that. I don't mind introducing people. I mean, we've had villains in the Marvel movies, and then like they also kind of show Thanos and trying to set up the whole, Infinity Gauntlet kind of overarching story that they've done. And so they've kind of done some of that. And so I hope it's along that. But if it's a movie with three villains the whole time and Spidey's trying to juggle it, I don't want to juggle that mentally anymore. Let's move.
Yeah,
Let's move past it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But that, I tell you what though, once again, I wish we had a time machine and I wish I could go forward in time because that trailer has just got me super excited. I think from what little we see, it looks like it's going to be really funny. It looks like it's going to be awkward with kind of the high school aspect going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm digging the new suit. I mean, I know they showed it in Captain America Civil War, but I'm digging the new suit and I'm digging kind of some of the ideas that they're doing. Man, I'm all over this. I want a time machine. I want to go forward. I want to see it. And then I want to come back so I can do Charlie's birthday tomorrow. Can we make that happen? That's all I'm saying.
Going? We don't need roads.
Okay, so also this week, the Sherlock Season 4 trailer dropped. Now, Steve, when was the last time you watched something on PBS?
Wow. There was like a thing on like Supernova and the Hubble telescope, maybe?
Yeah, so like the late 1980s, maybe?
Right.
So I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I originally wasn't. My wife got into this, it's on the BBC, and this is the rebooted or what they call New Who. And my wife got me hooked. I love it. I love it. I love it. We will definitely talk about Doctor Who in future podcasts. But when the Sherlock thing came out, I just kind of went, yeah, I don't know. And then my wife said, well, the showrunner from Doctor Who, Stephen Moffat, has been writing for Sherlock, and I went, okay, well, maybe. And it's on Netflix, so you can see the first 3 seasons on Netflix. And I watched the first 3 seasons. And what I really like is it's not a full show in the sense of like it's an every week. It's like a 90-minute, almost like mini series, and you get like 3 or 4 of them a season. And anyway, Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock Holmes is amazing. And then Martin Freeman, who played Bilbo Baggins, also was the original Jim on the British version of The Office. He plays John Watson in the show. The trailer for season 4 came out. I know that it starts on January 1st, but I wish I had a time machine because, man, I'm jacked up to watch Sherlock.
It's a pretty serious show. I mean, it's obviously got its humor, but I mean, I watched the trailer for season 4 and it looked pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's not super light. It's not. I mean, there's a lot of humor in it. There's actually a lot of humor, but it's kind of more that dark humor at times, or gallows humor, and it's really smart. It's really well written, and usually kind of like the original Sir Arthur Conan Doyle has kind of like that twist near the end somewhere. That's kind of how each one of these shows go. I mean, they obviously follow some of the original stories and expand and change it, but it's good, it's entertaining, it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, and then bam, something happens and they give you that twist and you're like, what? Go back again? Wait, let's put this all back together, and you try to figure out how they laid all this out, and you've watched the whole thing, but yet you missed it, and it was in plain sight the whole time. I love that. So
yeah, very cool. It looks. I mean, like I said, from the and I haven't followed the series, from the first few seasons, but from the trailer, it looks awesome. So I'm going to get into that. It's on my watch list.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this podcast, I highly recommend it. Go catch it on Netflix. Get caught up. January 1, season 4. And here in America, it's on, I think, PBS. And if you're over across the pond in England and you're listening to this podcast, I want to know how you found this podcast, first of all. Second of all, it's on BBC. That's where they're watching it. So
there you go.
I had one.
Very cool.
I had one other thing. Did you see the Suicide Squad movie?
I didn't. No.
Okay, I saw it and it was okay. Once again, this is DC. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. The plot was really confusing, and it just kind of fell apart at times plot-wise. But
I think they probably made more on like Halloween costumes for girls than it actually did on probably like ticket sales. I saw so many like Harlequin girls during trick or treating, like
yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah. So the movie didn't do great, but they've apparently greenlit some spin-off movies and more off of some of the Suicide Squad characters. And for a movie that only got like 26% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, it's just a little interesting choice. But anyway, David Ayer, the guy who directed Suicide Squad, apparently he's been tapped to direct the Harley Quinn spin-off movie that's going to be called the Gotham City Sirens. Margot Robbie, who played Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad, is going to come back and reprise her role as Harley Quinn. Am I going to see it? I mean, I'd like to say no and that I'm smarter than this and I'm just going to take a pass. But she was really good as Harley Quinn, like really convincing. She was probably the best part of that whole movie. I'll probably go see it. I mean, she really was the bright spot in that movie, and the rest of it was just kind of boring and just kind of blah.
We'll get your review when you do.
It'll probably be a lot like Suicide Squad. I'm probably going to come back and say, yeah, the movie was kind of rough, but Margot Robbie did great, and she played Harley Quinn fantastic, and she was the bright spot. I'm going to say that now. That's my prediction.
So we'll just take this portion of the episode and just repaste it in there, and we'll save that save your breath.
Yep, I think that sounds good. So last week we talked about time travel, and we tossed out a question, and our question was, what are some of your favorite time travel stories? We got some responses on Twitter. At Arctic Warlocks said, one of my favorite time travel movies that has an awesome butterfly effect has to be Hot Tub Time Machine. And every time someone talks about Hot Tub Time Machine, all I think about is the scene with the guy who's juggling like moving chainsaws, and he's like, "What could go wrong?" Because in the future he only has one arm, and like the ongoing gag of that whole movie is like how he actually loses his arm. So anyway, we appreciate that. T Times Dope at T215J says, Back to the Future and honorable mention to the butterfly effect. I'm with you on Back to the Future, TJ, but the butterfly effect itself, Ashton Kutcher, we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
There you go.
Johnny Casino at Johnny_Casino said, 12 Monkeys is my favorite time travel movie. Watching yourself die in a bad wig must be terrible. And I love 12 Monkeys. Obviously, we talked about a lot of different things, and we only had so much room on the podcast, but man, 12 Monkeys, killer flick. My brother, once again, Josh Stapleton, jumping in, at CRed_81 on Twitter, says, Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 5. Homer travels back in time and ignores Abe's advice to not touch anything. I love
classic.
Classic. I love it. Josh is bringing out a Simpsons reference. Nathan Van Diggle at jerk_alert on Twitter says, I'd say Stephen King's 11/22/63. Definitely a different, interesting take on time travel, and that's the story I think that the article that you gave to me was quoting.
Yeah. Good. Well, it's good to get a different take.
Right.
Not everything has to be in a stainless steel car from the 80s.
That's true, although I'll take it. My mother-in-law also wrote in and gave me some of her favorite time travel stories, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Now, my buddy Chris, who's one of the hosts, Chris McCracken, who's one of the hosts of the Married to the Games podcast, one of my favorites, a good friend of mine, so on his podcast a while back, maybe a year and a half ago or so, came up with this idea for every time that the Married to the Games group makes a mistake, he would tag it MTTG oops and then correct the mistake, and they would read it on the show. And so he sent me a hashtag FON oops for Fortress of Nerditude oops. And apparently I said Naughty Dog is a publisher, and he corrected me and said Naughty Dog is a developer, not a publisher, and then gave me a little winky face emoji. I just want to say, for the record, keeping us honest, that I knew that. We recorded late, and I listened to it in editing, and I thought about going and recording that little bit over and dropping it in, and I figured, what the heck, someone's gonna call me out on it, and I'll just leave it here anyway. Not a big deal. And I love the fact that Chris, who suggested that whole idea on their podcast, sent me an oops here on our podcast. So big props to Chris McCracken, my good buddy Chris. Thank you so much for keeping me honest, and I'm gonna find a way to get you back really, really soon.
Right.
So
awesome.
We appreciate your all of your input onto the discussion that we had last week. I just want to apologize to my mother-in-law. We don't have time really to read your stuff, so we'll get to you next week. Sorry about that. Yeah.
She and Matt Damon. Sorry, Matt.
Sorry, Matt. So anyway, Steve, you had a great idea, and I want you to introduce it because I love this, and I want you to do it. So go.
Yeah. So with Christmas coming up, we many a memory can be churned up on things that bring the season to life. Whether the sights, the sounds, the tastes, the smells, and so Spencer and I we had this kind of dialogue a few days ago that we wanted to put together kind of a best of, and we had a few different categories. So we independent of one another, this has not been talked about before the podcast, we came up with 4 categories that we would come up with our best of in the way of Christmas. And they were as follows. Our favorite food of Christmas, our favorite drink of Christmas, our favorite song, and our favorite movie. And then what we'll probably do is we'll go through and we'll turn our cards over and be our own, I guess, critics and kind of judge and see who comes out victorious in this competition of Christmas.
So now we have to convince the other person that they're actually wrong and that they need to switch to our view so we can score this thing.
That's correct.
You're sure we don't need a third party to moderate this thing?
Well, it sounds like Chris McCracken is already the unseen hand in this. He's already Big Brother.
Okay. So the idea is if we're throwing a Christmas party and we have to put on a song or put on a movie or serve a drink or some sort of Christmas treat, that these are going to be our best. We're going to give out to set up the best Christmas party.
Yeah, and I mean this, subject, and I want to talk as well just about general kind of Christmas memories, Christmas holidays. I've got a few that actually involve you, Spence, that I think our listeners need to hear to really get to know.
Listen, I was very, very young and I needed the work. Okay, I don't want to get back into it.
But it paid for college, so that was something.
That is true.
No. So that's kind of the premise, the idea. And so, are you ready, Spence? I mean, do you have your?
I have my picks. I carefully considered them. I talked with numerous people to suss out what they would pick and see how right or wrong I was in my thinking. I've prepared, and I am ready to battle you in the best Christmas go round. And then also, Steve, I think after we do the best, I think we should do the worst.
The worst.
So
that's the best.
So I think
worst idea ever.
So I think we figure out who's got the best Christmas party, and then we see if we can throw the worst Christmas party possible, and we can see who can do the better of that as well.
All right. Very good. Okay. Well, I will let you go first as the visitor to this competition. I would, of course, be the home team. What would be if you had to pick one food that epitomizes Christmas in your mouth?
Okay, hold on a second. If I'm the visitor, I just want to set this up like an NBA game. Now, time for your world champion Chicago Bulls at 6'6" out of North Carolina, Michael Jordan. So you see what I just did there, right? I just said that I'm the greatest ever to play the game, and now I'm going to go. So,
of course, you are broadcasting from the great state of Utah, and I am actually broadcasting from the great state of Illinois in Chicago. But yes, go on,
Yeah,
sure.
the place that Michael Jordan sealed his legacy by the push off and the final shot. Yes,
There was no push. There was no push.
I agree.
Have they brainwashed you?
No, no, of course not. I agree there was no push off. But here in the great state of Utah, the people love the Utah Jazz. They insist
Oh
there's
my
a push.
gosh.
I mean, guys, it's 20 years ago. Enough with the sour
Yeah.
grapes. You lost. You lost.
The mailman, squirrel pie, call below like squirrel pie.
Now,
All right, so give it to me.
Now this is which category yet? I got way sidetracked. Sorry.
No, this is foods. This is kind of
Okay.
Not main dish, but just a general food.
Right.
That,
so I kind of went with the idea of treats, right? Like a Christmas food or Christmas treat, and I thought about it. I said, what is one thing that's going to epitomize Christmas? And so I tried to come at it from a point of you don't get this any other time of the year. You only get it at Christmas, and it's something that is pretty universal. A lot of people have it. So I went with the gingerbread house. And I'll tell you why. Gingerbread houses are only at Christmas, and you get to decorate the crap out of those things with all sorts of candy and goodies and yummies, and so you can put whatever you want. So really it's like one treat with like many other treats put on top of that. And I think by default, I have to get the win because I went like a plethora of treats on one treat. So gingerbread house, beat that.
Wow, that is actually pretty stiff competition out of the gates, my friend. That what's funny about gingerbread houses is there is so much sugar packed into one treat, and it goes, at least in my house, that you enjoy it, you have it for the holidays, and then it's like, sometime into like mid-January, and the kid's like, I want to eat the gingerbread house, Daddy. I'm like, you know how long that's been sitting out, unsealed and non-hermetically? People have coughed on it, touched it, poked it, licked it.
Doesn't matter.
They take down the north wall, they start gnawing on it like, like a sewer rat.
Well, the way you make that sounds like we've got invaders. They're coming in from the north side. They've taken down the wall. Next thing, they're gonna, breach the gate. Anyway.
Oh, okay. So I took at it a little bit of a different take on it. I was thinking more of like a savory kind of dish. I thought more of kind of food, and the one thing that I don't know, my mom always made was sweet potato casserole. And what I love about sweet potato casserole is it felt like dessert, like you were like getting away with something, right? Doing something wrong, because man, like the way my mom makes it, and I don't know about the rest of the listeners out there, but man, it has more sugar than sugar. I don't know how that happens, but you got the marshmallows on top, you got some minced up pecans inside, and that was always like a childhood favorite of mine, man. It was like a dessert that somehow chalked in a vegetable.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me. I'm gonna be honest. I do not like sweet potato pie, and I would just scrape the marshmallow topping off and just eat that.
This is like an oven baked s'mores.
I was like, can I get a graham cracker and some chocolate to go with this sweet potato pie?
Yeah. Take it off the gingerbread house, son.
Okay, so we gotta rate this. We gotta come to a conclusion here. So sweet potato pie or gingerbread house.
You know what? I'm man enough to admit when I've been bested, and I think gingerbread house is because sweet potato you can have during Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna acknowledge. I'm gonna bow down. I'm gonna kiss the ring. You're smart. I'm dumb. You're better looking. I'm not. You're funny. I'm stupid.
You said all of this. I didn't tell you to say any of that. And let's go. Ding, ding, ding. Round one goes to Spencer.
Nice. Okay, round two. We're gonna have the bikini cat lady walk around with the big sign. Round two, ding ding. Next round is beverages.
Oh,
beverages.
Okay.
For 300.
So, am I going first again?
No, you're not, because you're not going to take mine.
Dang it.
All right, so and I will preface this by saying that only a few years ago did I learn that I was lactose intolerant. Does that stop me from enjoying this beverage? Hey, no. Does it stop other people from enjoying thereafter? Hey, yes. So I am a huge fan of eggnog. I'll take it any which way. I want it as thick as possible. So much in fact that when I am finished with my glass of eggnog, my wife comes into the kitchen and gets mad at me for using her good glasses to repaint the bathroom a cream color. What did you do?
Wow.
Yeah, and I have indoctrinated my children as well. That my son literally asked this week. He's like, "Dad, can I put eggnog on my Wheaties?" I'm like, "No, son. You actually go for it, son. Respect. You got respect."
Eggnog.
The spoon actually like stands up in the bowl without anyone holding on. That's how thick we like it.
Eggnog and Wheaties, the breakfast of champions.
Right. You can go out and win the NBA championship on a tummy full of eggnog sloshing around.
Oh, okay. Eggnog. Wow, that's a good one. That's definitely a Christmas beverage. It's not something I see any other time of the year, so I think.
And it could be served. It could be served in the moose glasses from Clark W. Griswold's
Christmas,
home decor.
Yeah, Christmas Vacation. Yes. Okay, so mine is different than yours, and I'm glad we didn't choose the same one, because if we did, I was going to be really sad because I was going to give it to you by default if we picked the same one.
That was kind of you.
I figured after round one I was going to have to give you something. So I think I've got you bested again. And I'm going to tell you why. Once again, you only drink this around Christmas time. And on top of that, it's kind of fancy. Eggnog, you can go to the grocery store and buy that junk. But this, no. You have to get it from special places. I'm thinking of wassail.
Wassail.
Yes. Listen, it is so good. And they even wrote a song about it. That has to win the category. That's all I'm saying. Mic freaking drop. Bunk.
So here I'm going to rebuttal that, because while it is fancy and you do have to drink it with pinkies out, and while it does have a song named after it, it really is just apple cider with a little cinnamon. They just fancied it up with a little bit of spice, but really, you can get apple cider any time of the year. Eggnog can only be purchased during Christmas, because let me tell you, the Maduras have tried in July to buy eggnog, and you can't find it, my friend.
So let me tell you, true wassail is not just apple cider with a little bit of cinnamon. My wife makes that stuff around Christmas, and I see like orange rinds in there and other various things in some cauldron that she's got brewing.
Cauldron? Did you just call your wife a witch?
No. I hate you, Madura.
You painted yourself into a corner with some eggnog.
I'm telling you, wassail is the Christmas tree. Now I'm gonna say eggnog is probably what everyone would normally say. It's a go-to, but I think wassail is the fancier Christmas beverage that you only can get at that time, and it has a song. So
the eggnog has a song too. It eggnog all over the walls.
Glug 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 blah. I mean,
that is the result of a lactose intolerant beverage individual consumption.
Okay.
So here's what I think. I think on this one we need to have a third party mediator, because I think I'm holding fast. I love my eggnog. My kids are behind me on this one. So
okay. So let's do this. Let's flip a coin.
Truce.
Okay. Heads, it's wassail. Tails, it is eggnog.
You happen to just have a coin just on you at any...
I have something that will resemble a coin that has one side that's different than another.
I think this is a rigged election. I think that the Russians are probably hacking into our feed here.
1, 2. Eggnog wins.
Whoa, yeah! Eggnog in your face!
Round 2 goes to you, Madura.
Suck it, wassail.
Round 2 goes to you.
All right, very good. Okay, so it's a heated competition here. We're neck and neck, folks, coming to the midway point, round 3, trace. This is going to be movies. So best Christmas movie, and I've got to say there are definitely going to be some honorable mentions on my list because it was hard to pick just one. And you could definitely go, this way or that based on you want sentimental, you want humor, you want this, that, and the other, nostalgia, sentimental. But anyway, ladies first, so go for it.
I will defer to you then.
Oh.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go. I agree. There's lots of great Christmas movies, and I can't wait till we get to the worst ones because, boy, do I got a worst Christmas movie. I think I try to narrow this down once again to one movie. I'm gonna say Die Hard is my favorite Christmas movie. It is my favorite Christmas movie, hands down. Run DMC, Christmas in Hollis. It's got a Christmas party gone wrong at the Nakatomi Plaza. It's got a husband trying to make amends with his estranged wife over Christmas time, and he flies across the country. It is a Hallmark movie, except for the fact that it has Hans Gruber, terrorists, bullets, blood, and Reginald Bell Johnson. Yeah. So that's my favorite, but I don't think that's the best Christmas movie. The best Christmas movie is the Charlie Brown Christmas movie. Now, I'm going to tell you why. This movie has a little bit of everything. This is like back in the 60s, right? It had a political message about the over-commercialization of Christmas versus the true meaning of Christmas. It has a scene where they actually quote the Luke 2 account of the birth of the Savior in a Christmas pageant. It has a wonderful, upbeat, jazzy soundtrack by Vince Guaraldi, which I don't know of any time I listen to jazz other than that soundtrack. It is animated and it appeals to both adults and children alike. And in the very end, it has a sense of community where everyone pulls together to help out Charlie Brown have a good Christmas. And then they, of course, sing Christmas carols and they sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing in a very humorous fashion. I put all those things together and it wraps up into a perfect, wonderfully sweet Christmas movie that is timeless and that my boys love, my wife and I love. I can watch that year after year after year, and it never feels dated and it never feels old. And it is, for me, the perfect Christmas movie.
Wow. That, now, did you read that all from IMDb or was that you?
That's just all me, baby. That is all me because that is how I feel. I don't know what IMDb says about it, but man, if it doesn't say that, I need to get on there and write something for them.
Okay, very good. Well, that's a solid entry. I like it. It's a difficult thing because again, if you were to go with like a traditionalist, a sentimental, something that really gets to the heart of Christmas. I am a huge sucker for It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, Jimmy Stewart, I remember I was in a film class back in the day, and due to my late nights or early mornings, whatever, I slept in, missed a few classes, so I had to make up a class. And I remember sitting in the library having to watch this in like some cubicle on some like video VCR TV combo back in the day. And I'm watching this movie for the first time in college, and I'm like weeping like a little girl. And there's this girl next to me, and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. So that is not my pick though. But I mean, fantastic.
Okay, well, if that's not your pick, then I really quickly want to get in my Jimmy Stewart It's a Wonderful Life impersonation.
Well, go for it, man. You are I don't know if it was requested by anyone from episode 2, but go for it.
Surprisingly, this is actually a more decent impersonation. But the scene when Jimmy Stewart's character comes back and he's realizing he's back and he's running through the town.
Yes.
And he goes, "Merry Christmas, you wonderful Emporium! Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter! Merry Christmas, you old building and loan!
You old savings and loan!"
That's my one decent Jimmy Stewart impression.
Yeah, a big one. I want a big one.
I want to see the world, see? I don't just want to go to one place. I want to go to many of them. I got all these pamphlets here.
Hot
Yeah.
dog. Yeah. Very good. No, it's a great.
I agree. It's a great movie. It's sentimental. It's it's classically thought of as a Christmas movie, and everyone watches it at Christmas time, but it's not your best Christmas movie, so I want to hear what it is, Steve.
All right. All right. So I'm gonna have to come in, and this is like I said, it's a non-traditional. Um, I definitely agree with you. Kind of a movie for all ages. This one may not be for all ages, but my pick is the one, the only Christmas Vacation, Clark W. Griswold. It has, I mean, I could watch that movie over and over again all year long. The scene when he's under the truck, she's like, "Dear God, please bless my husband. He's under a truck. You think I don't know that?" The scene with the Christmas light, totally relatable. That everything goes wrong during the rightest time of the year, right? And yet it all comes back together. You've got the squirrel in the house, you've got the burnt turkey. She's like, "I didn't know I shouldn't have put it in for 12 hours." You've got the Jelly of the Month Club. My kids still quote the scene when Dennis Quaid or no Randy Quaid. He's talking about like the silicone and he's going down, getting ready to go sledding, and he says, "Well, Clark, I don't know if I should use that because a few years ago, or because I got a metal plate in my head, and they had to replace it with a plastic one, which ain't as strong. Because every time Catherine revved up the microwave, I'd pee my pants and forget who I was for half an hour or so." And he's like, "Do you think anyone really cares, Eddie?" "Well, my part just ain't gonna look right." Anyway, so
Hey Griswold, where are you gonna put a tree that large?
bend over and I'll show you.
Yeah. You got a lot of nerve talking to me like that, Griswold.
I wasn't talking to you. And that was Elaine from Seinfeld. I mean, freaking like that. It gets me rolling every time. So that is my pick for best Christmas movie ever. And of course, it comes to a wonderful resolution with his boss and the Jelly of the Month Club, and he gets a bonus, so they get to put in the pool, and he's father of the year.
So I love National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I think it's got to be one. It's up in there as far as my favorites. It's totally quotable. It's the story of a father trying to do right by his family when everything seems to be going wrong. And as a father, that speaks to me, right? I mean, I was just telling you about this last week with the kids, and they were going crazy in the dang gummy bear bag that was disappeared and eaten in like half an hour. And I get that. Man, Clark W. Griswold, I feel that. I love that, but is that the best Christmas movie, or is that just one of my absolute favorites because I have an affinity for it? That's the question I'm saying.
It is. It is the question, and it is one that's more of just I think a movie on its own that can stand with or without Christmas. It happens to be set during Christmas, and obviously has strong ties to the movie itself. But and of course it was a challenge because again there's no real talk of the meaning of Christmas and but you do have that sentimental scene when he's in the attic, and he's got like the turban on his head and he's watching films of the kids,
the family, and So if I've got to look, and I'm gonna objectively look at the two.
Look into your heart, Spence. Look into your heart.
Because I considered putting Christmas Vacation on the list, and I looked at it hard and I said, this is one of my favorites. It's really funny and it's a comedy. I said, but for me there was a couple key, like it does kind of miss the whole meaning of Christmas as far as like celebrating Christmas for the birth of the Savior aspect. It really does kind of miss that.
Yeah.
Whereas like It's a Wonderful Life, kind of has a little bit more of that as far as the whole idea of, the value of a life, da 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 da. But in the Charlie Brown Christmas, which is my pick, it has humor. It's really funny, great soundtrack, but they do really discuss the over commercialization of Christmas versus the true meaning of Christmas. And at the end, I think for me that's what's going to clinch it, and I'm going to stick with my pick and say Charlie Brown Christmas.
Okay, so so I'm going to give it to you, but I'm going to give it to you with these last words. So we watched that movie 2 years ago, all right, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. I was uncomfortably surprised at how negative everyone is towards Charlie Brown. Like, I was actually feeling a little depressed as I was watching, like, you idiot, you blockhead, you. Now they say that a lot through the series and whatnot, but like particularly in that movie, like it depressed me. I felt bad for him, and he's a fictional cartoon character. I'm like, man, like, and he likens himself to the tree, and he's like, feeling worthless, and everybody is really mean to him. I mean, Charles Schultz, a little heavy on the self-deprecation.
Don't we though feel like that sometimes around Christmas? I mean,
No,
we get down.
I feel great.
No,
I got my eggnog in
no.
one hand and my sweet potato pie in the other.
No, but I mean the whole idea of, maybe our self-worth takes a little hit sometimes when things don't go right and everyone's kind of doing their own things and we feel like maybe people aren't invested as much in whatever we got going on because they're invested in their own stuff. I think that's a real human emotion.
Yeah.
I really do feel like that. Now, granted, it's an animated film and they're playing it up, and in the comic strip, I mean, Charlie Brown is always getting picked on. I mean, Lucy's always pulling that football away from him at the last possible second, making him look like a fool. And if you haven't seen the Peanuts movie, by the way, my boys love that.
Yeah,
that's a great movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah. And I think on a serious note, I really do like as Christmas is coming, and my wife and I have really tried to make Christmas not all about the gifts, right? I remember the kids were young, and we lived in our old house, and so they were probably respectively, like, I don't know, 5 and 3, and maybe Lila wasn't born yet and Alana was just a baby. I remember the kids got so tired of opening gifts because there were so many. I mean, literally, it was like half the tree was covered in the corner of our living room with presents. They got so bored of opening presents, they just wanted to play with some of their gifts. We had to extend gift opening to a second day. And I said, Carrie, okay, enough is enough. Okay, that's got to stop. And now we have significantly pulled back the reins on it. We have very limited. I mean, they get a gift from us, they get a gift from, and then they give gifts to each other. And it's really kind of limited. But it's been a nice thing to be able to, focus on we do some service, we do some Secret Santa things, and that's really been some of the sweetest memories that we've had as a family.
So I just want to apologize then because I sent a truckload of gifts, and it sounds like it's going to take you 4 days to open them. I do apologize.
It worked, Carrie. The sucker. He sent them. All right. So
get a load of this guy. He sent me a truck full of presents. He felt... Oh, man, what a joker.
Yeah, so I'll give that to you. So, okay, so the score is...
2-1, baby, 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1, but I'm coming back with a vengeance.
So let's just recap. Gingerbread House and Charlie Brown Christmas puts me up over your eggnog.
There's still one to go, my friend. Let's do this thing.
Okay.
All right. Who went last? First? Who went first last?
I went first last.
First last. Okay. So
that's not confusing at all, by the way.
Right. So this one is one where I went with just the feeling good Christmas. All right, the feeling good Christmas. This thing has everything. It's got Christmas spirit. It's got patriotic spirit. It's got American spirit. It might even have a little teen spirit up in here. And I'm sure when the boss kicked this thing off in New Jersey at -3 with a cut-off jean jacket that Bruce Springsteen, the boss, recorded Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Oh yeah, Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. That is my pick. Mic drop. The Boss. How can you argue with... First, let me just ask, before you answer, how can you argue with The Boss?
Well, I'm going to start it off by saying this. Esquire puts out an article in November of every year which rates the top 25 best Christmas songs and the top 25 worst Christmas songs. And that, my friend, was like number 8 on the worst list. That it's hokey and it's schlocky, and who cares about Bruce freaking Springsteen, and he looked like an old, nasty, pervert man.
And you have a subscription to Esquire, by the way? You read this? You put any credence in this? I mean, come on. It's like Consumer Reports, man. People are just throwing money after this. Yeah, Bruce Springsteen didn't give Esquire money so that they would rate his Christmas song in the top 10. That's ridiculous.
Back off there, Trump. No, it's called the internet, Steve. I looked it up. I don't have a subscription. Who pays for subscriptions anymore? I'm gonna disagree with you because that is nowhere near the best Christmas song. I think that we're talking between two Christmas songs and only two Christmas songs for the best. And the fact that you're out of your mind with Bruce Springsteen means I'm going to easily walk away with this one. Now,
Please.
the runner up to my choice was Bing Crosby's White Christmas. Now, I know Bing Crosby wasn't very kind to his children, and I'm not going to get into that.
Right.
But I am going to say Bing Crosby's White Christmas is a magical piece of music, and it is timeless. And that was my runner up. And I think for most people, that could be an easy number one. But man,
You gonna go with Blue Eyes? Are you gonna go with Blue Eyes?
No.
Okay.
What I'm going with here is I'm going with Nat King Cole's rendition of the Christmas song. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, tiny tots with their eyes all aglow. That song, Madura, I'm telling you, Steve, it has everything. It was written like in 1945 by Mel Torme in the summertime, but he hits like things that kids are doing around Christmas time, things adults are doing, the feeling of Christmas, all while he was like lounging on a beach sipping a Mai Tai, and he wrote this thing. That to me is the ultimate Christmas song, and Nat King Cole's voice on that track is the ultimate voice for that recording. It's the best, hands down. Now, you want to, in all honesty, use Bruce Nasty Springsteen's Santa Claus is Coming to Town against Nat King Cole's The Christmas Song? You're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm right.
No. The other one that I had, and again, I had a few different picks for this one, and yes, Santa Claus is Coming to Town was kind of more of a fun pick. The other pick that I had was Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And again, similar to the Nat King Cole, two of the best voices that our era, our lifetime has ever seen.
If you would have chose Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, you may have easily convinced me to flop because I love that song. And for me, I don't know why, but like I almost always get very emotional when I listen to it. For some reason, like in my mind, that song always plays on the Christmas movies when like someone can't make it to Christmas or someone's dying at Christmas and it's actually, you feel that, or it's just there's emotion tied up with that song. If you would have chosen that song, I may have considered flipping because I almost picked that as myself. I had a group that I was trying to choose between. Ultimately, I'd said the Christmas song by Nat King Cole, hands down. But man, I cannot flip for Bruce Springsteen's Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Well, and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, just a little known fact. So it was actually written and performed originally in 1944 by Judy Garland in Meet Me in St. Louis, and that was and it still ranks, I think. I'm looking up now, 76th on the American Film Institute's best songs of all types. So that's and it's been done many a time. And so if you
that version, the version you're talking about, the one from Meet Me in St. Louis, that's actually my wife's favorite version of that song. She loves it. Really? It comes on, and I look at her, and she's like, "Stop looking at me," because I know she's starting to tear up a little bit. She loves that song.
Well, and when you think about that, and again, you've got Bing Crosby's White Christmas, you've got Nat King Cole, like you said, those songs that just engender the memories of they tug at the heartstrings, and you can picture a crackling fire, you can picture the warmth.
And you went with Bruce Springsteen. What were you thinking? What were you thinking?
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Steve Madura just lost 3-1.
Really what I wanted to do is I just wanted to make up, I wanted to give you an easy lob because I still know that you are still reeling over me giving you that bloody lip back when we first met. That's all I got to say. So.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can agree the Christmas song by Nat King Cole is the winner here.
Yeah, we'll agree on that one.
Okay, so
we'll give you the Mirrorball trophy.
Christmas round 1 goes to Spencer. Now, let's do the flip side because I had so much fun trying to come up with the worst song, the worst movie, the worst drink, and the worst treat/food. And so let's start with the treat/food. And
now, if we combine that, is this kind of a combined? Okay, well, you got treat. Okay,
we're treat or food because I kind of went with treat, whereas I think you kind of went more with food when we were doing the best of.
Yeah.
So Steve, you're gonna go first since I went first, I believe, on the best of. What is your worst treat/Christmas food?
So in my family, on my dad's side, we usually get together on Christmas Eve, and invariably, there is someone that brings the traditional, the loathed, the infamous, which does mean more than famous, per Three Amigos.
It's infamous.
It's infamous. That means more than famous. The fruit cake, the dreaded fruit cake, the loaf of bread soaked in alcohol. Then usually they'll make one with and without alcohol, with bits of fruit to which no one really knows their origin. What is the green fruit? I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also chose fruit cake. It's that loaf lump of stuff that you chop it up and it doesn't have the consistency of bread. It doesn't have the consistency of paste, but it kind of feels like a mix of the two, and it's got nasty chunks. I would suggest that we start using that stuff to mortar
right.
bricks on the outside of the house. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I mean, and there can be, and I've had maybe a few in my life of actually somewhat palatable fruitcakes, but by and large, they usually it's almost like you pick up like a piece of lead or something where you're surprised by the weight of it, the girth, the heft of it. You pick up like a little fruit cake left on the doorstep, and you're like, was this a paperweight for for the Sunday paper? Like, what the crap?
Yeah, not good. No, I'm in agreement. I can't say we can say one or another win, so let's just call that a tie or a push, and we'll just move on.
Okay.
So drink, the worst Christmas drink. Now this is where you and I are going to disagree. I chose eggnog because I hate that crap. It's thick, it's nasty, it's way overused at Christmas. Most people I know only can tolerate it because they are able to put lots and lots of booze in it, and that makes it palatable. And if you have to drown your beverage in another beverage in order to get it down, that, my friend, means you have a crappy beverage to begin with.
So oddly enough, I had actually picked wassail as the crappiest.
Yeah, but at least that has a dang song.
Yeah, no, I actually just picked water.
Water?
Yeah, because it's not Christmassy at all, so it's the worst Christmas beverage of all time. Water is my pick.
Water.
I'm just kidding. I don't. I didn't actually have one. So.
Well, see, this is difficult because I actually thought of something and you didn't. So I should win, but
sorry,
I know
I didn't do my homework.
But I know you're not going to want to vote for eggnog because that's your favorite.
Yeah.
So yeah. Let's call that a half a point for me because I came up with something and we'll just score it that way.
My next two may get 2 full points, so that's fine.
So I have a very narrow edge, but I'm not going to gloat yet. Okay, Steve, the worst Christmas movie. This is going to be the movie that if you're having family and friends over and you put this thing on the TV, that Uncle Frank is going to fall asleep and Aunt Phyllis is going to, leave the room because this is just horrendous. What is that movie for you?
That movie for me is none other than The Governor with a career low Jingle All the Way. Now, although obviously you can argue that
Ooh.
Batman and Robin, if you feel sufficiently passionate about Arnold Schwarzenegger's lowest point of his career, however, this movie plays, he's a father who wants to find a sold out doll for his kids, and it's a no good piece of crap, worst Christmas comedy ever. Conversely, the film also has a high point of Sinbad's career. So there you go. You get a little best and worst.
No, man. Yeah, Jingle All the Way. Man, I agree that is a piece of crap film. But I have an equally bad one, and it may edge you out, only for the sheer fact that we're going to the Hallmark Channel for this bad boy. Now,
is that even a different
yeah.
echelon? I mean, is that really even a movie? If it was produced in someone's garage, can it really be okay, go.
So you know that there's this movie out there but with Nicolas Cage called The Family Man, where it's this guy who, early in the movie he's dating this girl and they have to go their separate ways for like a summer job thing, and then fast forward 10 years into the future, he's making all this money and he's not with her anymore, and then he has this event happen where he bumps into a Santa Claus, and the Santa Claus gives him like a bell, and he goes to sleep, and then he wakes up in the morning, and magically he's now living in the suburbs, and he's with the girlfriend from 10 years ago, and they've got 2 kids, and he's trying to live this life and figure out how he fits in, and he gets a glimpse at that life, which this is just a really, really bad knockoff of It's a Wonderful Life, if I'm being perfectly honest. That's the Nick Cage movie. This movie on the Hallmark Channel stars Lacey Chabert from like Party of Five or whatever back in the 90s, and it is a direct ripoff of The Family Man called A Family for Christmas. And she is a newscaster who broke up with her boyfriend when she went off for a summer internship. Blah, blah, blah. 10 years later, she's making all this money, and she runs into this Santa Claus, and she wakes up the next morning, and she's now living in the suburbs with the former boyfriend, and she's got the 2 kids, and she's got to figure out how she fits into this family dynamic. It's a glimpse into this other life that could have been, and then of course at the end of the movie she goes back to her normal life, and she doesn't like it, and she wants to go back to the glimpse life, and so she tries to find the guy and rekindle it. Listen, they directly ripped off a Nicolas Cage movie. Okay? Let me repeat that. Nicolas freaking Cage. Now, you know that this is a low point if you're ripping off a Nicolas Cage movie, and it's Hallmark, and it's cheesy, and it's horribly written, and the acting in it is, I don't know what it is. There's always like one semi-known actor, and then everyone else is like complete unknowns. And A Family for Christmas is my pick for the worst Christmas movie, because it's like a 6 Degrees of Separation ripoff of It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay, so I think that there's a little bit of possible disqualification here because I feel very passionately about this. Hallmark movies are not real. I mean, you could go to the E channel and you could go to Oxygen and get some, Oprah Winfrey movie that, has got nobody you've ever heard of in it.
I don't remember you specifying this had to be in the box office. You said movie.
I'm just thinking, and surely from last week's conversation about Arnold Schwarzenegger being your favorite time travel movie and star, he's had some fantastic films. He's had, the Conan series, all the action movies, whatnot. Was Governor, and then to hit Jingle all the way. I just don't think I don't think Hallmark movies really even qualify as they're known to be bad. They're made with shoestring budgets. They can't afford. I mean, Jingle All the Way was a legitimate movie that possibly sank Arnold's career and run for president.
Well, he was never going to be able to run for president because he wasn't a natural-born citizen.
Aye, dang you! He's not a Puma.
He did become a governor after Jingle All the Way, by the way. So, basing it on that, I mean, I can't give it to you for that. Now, however, it was a big box office released movie that went nationwide, and it did actually spawn a kid's toy that the kid's toy probably did better sales than the movie did.
Absolutely.
Now, your qualm about the holiday movies on Hallmark or Oxygen, I mean, there's some validity there, but I mean, come on, man. It's a crappy ripoff of a Nick Cage movie.
But I think both Hallmark and Nicolas Cage, you know what you're signing up for. You know it's going to be cheesy crap. I mean, Nicolas Cage, the only reason that he has a career whatsoever is because his uncle was Francis Ford Coppola. That is it. I mean, from Raising Arizona to The Rock, The Family Man, freaking Ghost Rider, like, what the freak? How has this guy ever been put on screen?
Okay. I'm going to acquiesce and give you Jingle All the Way because it was a big budget movie and because Arnold, man, had been doing some really great stuff right before that. And then to go there, okay, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you. Jingle All the Way.
And I will take that. All right. So last category.
So you're up 1 full point to my half point.
Yep.
On the worst.
Yep. So so last category is worst Christmas songs.
Okay, so I'm going to... Man, I didn't know this song until my wife told me about it. Now, after she told me about it, I wanted to stab my ears with a pen and let my ears bleed so I never have to hear this again. But before
That's quite descriptive.
Before I get there, though, my runner-up was Paul McCartney's Wonderful Christmas Time. You know, simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Do. It was like the guy got a Casio keyboard for Christmas that year
right.
and said, I want to write a schlocky Christmas tune that's going to stick around forever. And he did it.
And he probably made millions from it.
It's got a catchy tune, but it's bad. It's bad, and you got people in their harmonies going, doo, all this junk, and it's one of those that come on and you sing it for like half a second, and then you're thinking to yourself, what am I doing? Why? Yeah. So I didn't go there, but man, that was really close. Until my wife introduced me to this song called Christmas Shoes. Now, if you don't know this song, you have to give a listen. The song is told from the perspective of a man in a shoe store who is kind of not feeling Christmas and having a bad day. And there's this little kid in front of him who's nervous around standing, has these shoes, and he puts it up and he's like, please, sir, I need to buy these shoes because my mother is really sick and she's not going to make it this year. Can I buy these shoes for my mom real bad? She's going to meet Jesus tonight. And the whole thing is like this manipulative song about like I need these shoes, these Christmas shoes.
Can I have these shoes for my mama, please? Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole idea is that she's gonna meet Jesus tonight, and she needs to have good shoes on when she meets Jesus.
You are a heartless, cold-hearted black. You have no soul, Stapleton.
So let me tell you this though. What's even worse is there is a video on YouTube that goes along with this song that I watched, and it's got like 7 million views. It looks like it was filmed on a cell phone in a Foot Locker.
No, it's probably on the Hallmark Channel.
No. Oh no, wait, it gets worse. So I was talking to some people about this very song, and they said, oh, did you know that Hallmark made a movie
Oh,
about that song, and it stars Rob Lowe?
case and point.
they
Period! Exclamation point. I'm
they
justified
made
and vindicated.
they made a Hallmark movie about this nasty, horrible song about some poor little urchin Oliver Twist child who wants to buy Christmas shoes for his dying mom so she can meet Jesus with nice looking shoes, and the dad that's behind him, feels really bad, so he kicks in some money to help buy these shoes. I think it is a
But then the kid
manipulative
becomes an
piece
indentured
of
servant to
garbage.
the kid becomes an indentured servant to the man. You find out later that the follow up to the song is that like he's washing like floors at his guy's mansion for like years to
Can
come.
I wash your floors to pay for shoes that you bought last year?
Oh my gosh! And Rob Lowe, like he starred in that movie. Like, come on, Rob.
He starred in the Christmas Shoes movie, and the people I was talking to about this, they started laughing when I was explaining to this, and they said, "We love that movie. We have it on DVD. We'll let you borrow it." And I said, "No, please don't, because I won't
Dude.
watch it."
Oh my.
I said I won't watch it. My wife will probably watch it, and she'll tell me how bad it is, and I'm just gonna laugh and mock it. And they were laughing at me and laughing at me. They're like, "No, that'll be fun. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it." So I'm saying this right now. I am not watching that movie ever. The music video that I saw on YouTube was enough to make me want to die. I'm never going to listen to this song again. If I ever hear it, I'm immediately changing the radio, or I'm crashing my car into the nearest pole so I can end my life.
So then I can buy you shoes. Yeah, it's gonna come full circle. I have to say. I have to say that I am probably going to give this to you even before I give my entry,
Yes.
because I remember there was a time. This has been a few Christmases ago, probably when I was a younger man with more hair. But I had just finished watching a Charlie Brown Christmas, and this song came on, and I was feeling a little vulnerable at the time, and I think I actually openly wept. But I totally agree. I think that like this goes above and beyond the normal cheese of like my dog died, my car's rusty, my girlfriend left me, and I'm drunk. Christmas, like country Christmas songs. This plays on every stereotypical like go and meet Jesus. My mom's dying right now, Mister. Now you know the real story is this dude was gonna go pawn these off at a pawn store around the corner. He probably had the money. This was just a shell game. That's the real story there. Dying mom, seriously? This is like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, just roll around old bones on in here, and we'll get you the shoes, son. My dead grandmother? What? So anyway, fantastic pick. My hat is off to you. That is a fantastic pick. But really, it's Breda's pick, so I don't know if I can give you full credit for that. It might give you like 75%.
I'm taking full credit. Full credit.
So I've got two picks. And one is actually from my wife. So I guess I will give you full credit because one was a pick from my wife. Every time she hears this song, she's like, turn it, change it, turn it. And it is none other than Blue Christmas by Elvis. Now, this is not my pick. This is my runner-up. But, I mean, every time it freaking comes on, like, I'll have a blue Christmas without you. And it's just like, and then the background, I mean, it has just the worst, like Christmas is not about depression. It is about, peace and love and good tidings of great joy. And I guess Elvis probably went from recording this song to popping some pills, sitting on the toilet, and dying because it is the worst, most depressing song I could ever hear.
Wow.
Instead of, or almost as bad as. And I'm going to go with another former Beatle, similar to your Paul McCartney reference, and this one is known as So This Is Christmas, but the actual
John Lennon, right?
John Lennon is actually Happy Christmas, War Is Over. That's the actual title of the song.
So this is Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Another year older, the new one's just begun. And so
I love it when the kids get into it.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yeah.
So basically, within the first phrase, the first cadence of the song, they basically said, what have you done? Not a dang thing. You're older and closer to death. You've done nothing with the past 365 days. Let's sing about Christmas, and I totally understand. I mean, I actually did a little bit of research on this. I mean, obviously, Lennon was all about some protesting the war, the Vietnam War. There was a counterculture movement. I know I'm going to get flack on probably Twitter, on our Facebook, kind of like, oh man, Lennon, Lennon. Everybody's, So he and Yoko Ono wrote this song together, and Yoko ruined everything, man. Everything she touched. She touched the Beatles, ruined it. She touched this song, ruined it. I mean, so she can be blamed for ruining Christmas. But
okay, so I don't hate that song. I don't love it. But I mean, it comes on, and I listen to it. I don't change it. I like it a little bit. I don't love it, but I don't hate it, that's for sure.
Well, I'm all about self-introspection. I'm all about self-betterment. I'm all about this. But man, Yoko just needs to throw a little of Grandpa's cough syrup into the eggnog, and John Lennon needed to loosen up, man. Because, and what this is as well is I didn't need, and I don't need, like the political undertones, right? After Imagine, so after he wrote Imagine, and it was wildly successful and whatnot, Lennon is quoted as saying this: "Now I understand what you have to do. Put your political message across with a little bit of honey." And it's like, come on, it's Christmas. I just want to feel good. I don't need the political undertones. I don't need the war montage. I just need Christmas. That's my pick for worst Christmas song ever.
Right. I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, I really do. I mean, it feels a little heavy-handed, right? Obviously, it's a different time, and the protest of the war, and so I can't really speak to that because I mean I wasn't alive then. But I don't hate that one. But yeah, it's not my favorite. But you already conceded Christmas Shoes is the worst. So at a point and a half to your at a point and a half to your point, I win the worst Christmas as well. So
I acquiesce.
I know the way to get to a best Christmas party and the way to get to the worst Christmas party, and I feel like the best was close. I mean, it was pretty neck and neck, even though it was a 3-1 blowout. It was pretty neck and neck individually, but man, on the worst, I can pick a bad Christmas party. Just saying.
Let me tell you.
So, okay, Steve, I want to ask you this because obviously we're recording this and this is kind of Christmas themed because next week we're doing the movie club for Rogue One and Brida's going to join us.
Right on. So excited.
So we're hitting the Christmas a little early because then we're going to end up recording again like right after Christmas, which will probably be, kind of a wrap up of some Christmas stuff and then looking ahead to the next year. And maybe kind of like maybe some like top tens of things in nerd and pop culture for the year of 2016. But looking back at Christmas time, since we're kind of talking about Christmas time, my question this week is going to be for our listeners: what is one of your favorite Christmas memories from your childhood? Something good, something funny, something inspiring or uplifting. Now, you may not have enough characters on Twitter of 140 characters. To answer that. So you can go to our email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com, or you can answer us on Twitter @fortofnerd, or we also have a Facebook page, and you can get Fort of Nerd to find the Fortress of Nerditude on Facebook, and you can answer there. Let us know your favorite Christmas memory, and we will take some time, probably the episode after Christmas, to go through that, because next week we have the movie club, Rogue One: A Christmas Story. Yes. So anyway, Steve, we need people to listen, and we need people to find us. So what can they do to help more people find us?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you can rate us on iTunes so the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to find as the North Pole. And really, Bruce Springsteen would want you to do it.
No, he wouldn't.
Shut your pie hole. You won. I conceded it. What more do you want?
Listen, I'm not going to shut my sweet potato pie hole, okay?
All right, guys. We will catch you next week. Have a great week, and as always, may the Force be with you, and God bless everyone.
even Tiny Tim.
And God bless Robin Hood.
God bless Robin Hood. Oh man.
Long live the Queen!